Guys, welcome to attend Alibaba Cloud Apsara Clouder Cloud Computing Specialist Certification online course. In this course, we'll talk about publish a static website in China with ICP. This is the outline of this course. First, in What Do You Need section, we'll talk about what is a static website, how does static website compare with a dynamic website, what are the benefits of using static website, and finally, for hosting a static website, what should you use, like using a cloud server or a server support web hosting like OSS. In the second section, what is OSS? We'll talk about the ideas in OSS, like it's a software as a service, and how does its software as a service nature facilitates us when we need to host a static website. Third, in storing static websites on OSS section, we'll highlight some key points you need to know when using OSS. Also talk about the static website hosting feature and anti-leech feature. And then in ICP license section, we'll talk about the compulsory ICP license that you must do when you want to host a website in China. This ICP license is compulsory for both personal websites and business portals. If you don't do so, the local telecom will have the right to block your site. And finally, we have a hands-on section, step-by-step telling you how to publish your first static website on OSS. That's all for this section. Thanks for listening. Hi guys, in this section, we'll talk about what do you need when hosting a static website. But first, let's talk about what is a static website, what is a dynamic website, and how do the two compare with each other. A static website consists of a series of HTML files, each one representing a physical page of a website. So on static sites, each page is a separate HTML file. For example, when you visit the homepage, you are viewing the actual homepage file. Moreover, if two pages contain a chunk of identical content, such as the same footer, if you want to update the footer, you must do so twice, so once on the first page and once on the second page. On the other hand, a dynamic website uses server-side languages such as PHP to dynamically build a web page when the user visits the page. So what happens is the user goes to a certain web address, and then the server finds a bunch of different pieces of information that it writes into a single cohesive web page, and finally presents the page to the user. In this page, we present a comparison between static and dynamic website. You can see from the table, compared to static website, in a dynamic website, content is generated dynamically and changes regularly. It uses the server-side languages such as PHP, JSP, and ASP.NET for developing a website. And in a dynamic website, it may generate different HTML for each of the requests. Also, the page contains server-side code that allows the server to generate the unique content when the page is loaded. And finally, when building a dynamic website, a content management system, also known as CMS, is often used to save the development time and take advantage on its rich plugins. According to the previous slides, we know the difference between static and dynamic website. Finally, let's talk about what do you need when hosting a static website. For publishing a static website, what you'll need is a web server, running HTTP server service like Apache or Nginx on it, and finally, upload your static web page to the appropriate directory. Yet, there's another way to do it, which is you can use a web hosting service or service that supports web hosting. Upload your static web page to it and leave the underlying OEM tasks to the service provider. The two ways are also shown in the picture below. First way is you use a web server, which in Alibaba Cloud is using our ECS service to get a cloud server and run HTTP server service like Nginx on it. The second way, using a web hosting service. In Alibaba Cloud, we suggest using OSS, since OSS is a service that supports web hosting. Also, using OSS is more convenient when comparing the OMM costs when using OSS and ECS. We'll talk more about this in the next section. That's all for this session. Thank you for listening. Hi guys, in this session, we will talk more about what is OSS and how its software as a service nature can help us when hosting a static website. This is the full picture of Alibaba Cloud Services. We cover from computing service to networking service to storage service to database service, monitoring and security service, big data service, application service, develop an OPS service, and also industry solutions like gaming, web, IoT, media, digital marketing, healthcare, security, finance, O2O, storage, government, and mobile. You can see that OSS lies in the storage section, marked in this red box. It is the key storage service in Alibaba Cloud that provides not only highly reliable and secure storage service, but also features like web hosting. So what is Object Storage Service, OSS? OSS is an encrypted and secure cloud storage service that can let you store, process, and access massive amounts of data from anywhere in the world. Nowadays, this kind of cloud storage service is very common, so we can kind of say that OSS is similar to services like Dropbox or OneDrive. But of course, it can do more than just a cloud storage service. This is the full feature of OSS. So it provides 99.9% service availability, automatic service expansion without affecting the external services. It performs threefold data backup to provide the best data reliability. It has multi-layer protection and can defend DDoS attack. It does multi-user isolation, provide unlimited storage space expansion, and also it can elastically increase of request processing capability. And finally, it provides additional features like web hosting, anti-leak, and picture editing. So OSS is a software as a service, and this picture here is a full graph from without cloud to IaaS, infrastructure as a service, PaaS, platform as a service, to SaaS, software as a service. And the blue parts in the picture are the parts that should be managed by users. And on the other side, the gray parts are the parts that are managed by the service provider. So you can see from the left to right, without cloud, there are the most parts that you have to manage by yourself, from networking to storage to server, virtualization, operating system, middleware, runtime, data to application. But when it goes to the right, from IaaS to PaaS, there are lesser and lesser blue parts and more gray parts. And when it comes to SaaS, software as a service, there's literally nothing you really have to handle. Most of the parts are handled by the service provider. So how can choosing a software as a service like OSS can help us when talking about web hosting? Well, if you don't use OSS but use a cloud server like ECS in Alibaba Cloud, then these will be the parts that you have to manage by yourself, from operating system to middleware, runtime, data, and applications. However, if you choose OSS, there's literally nothing left that you have to handle by yourself. Most of the parts are handled by the service provider. This gives you better elasticity and convenience. That's all for this section. Thank you for listening. Hi guys, in this section, let's talk about what are the things you have to know when you want to start storing static websites on OSS. First, when you want to start using OSS service, you have to choose the region to create a bucket. So what does the region mean? Region in here refers to the city where Alibaba Cloud provides the cloud computing service. Generally, a region will cover an area, like for example, Beijing region will cover North China area. So after you choose the region, it will be the geographical area where OSS stores the bucket that you created. It is recommended to choose a region carefully so that you can optimize latency, minimize costs, or address regulatory requirements. Currently in Alibaba Cloud, we provide 14 regions around the world. So after you choose the region, you'll be creating a bucket in such region. A bucket serves as the container for objects, also known as files, stored in OSS. There are some characteristics in OSS bucket listed here. In this list, I want to highlight some key points that you have to keep in mind. So first, every object must be kept in a bucket. Second, the bucket name is globally unique in OSS. Also, the bucket name cannot be changed, so you need to set the name carefully. Third, Alibaba Cloud provides unlimited storage space in OSS, so there is also no limit on the number of objects in each bucket. And finally, a user can have one or more buckets, also more than one bucket in the same region. And inside each bucket, there are objects, also called as files. objects are the fundamental entities stored in OSS buckets. So objects consist of data, metadata, and key. In an object, the metadata is a set of name-value pairs that describe the object. Also, object is uniquely identified within a bucket by a key. This key is also the name of the object. So each file that the user uploads is an object. And the file size limitation, it differs from how the data was uploaded. In default, you'll be using object mode, so the single object size cannot exceed 5 GB. But if you use API and call the multi-part mode to upload data, the object size cannot exceed 48.8 TB. Also, OSS bucket support access control ACL, so you can apply access control rules at the bucket level in OSS. There are 3 levels that you can set. First is private, so it requires authentication for all operations. The second is public read, so it requires authentication for write operation and allow anonymous read operations. The final one is public read-write. In this mode, it requires no authentication for read and write operations. And now let's talk about OSS pricing. So in Object Storage Service OSS, the fees are calculated in pay-as-you-go mode. In OSS, it doesn't support like other Alibaba Cloud products that you can use subscription mode. It only supports pay-as-you-go. And the bill is based on the total volume of storage used, the amount of data transferred, and the number of API requests made. Here are the details of the bills. So first is the storage. Storage fees are billed based on the amount of storage space you use. And the data transferred to internet, the fee is collected based on your total use of OSS downstream traffic. The upstream traffic and internet access traffic are free. And finally is the API requests. In OSS, all your OSS operations are ultimately OSS API calls, and you will be billed based on the number of times you call the OSS API. For storage price, OSS provides a setting called storage class. So in OSS, you can apply storage class at the bucket level in OSS. Each class is suitable for different use cases and provides different storage unit price. There are 3 classes supported in OSS. The first is standard storage, the second is infrequent access storage, and the third is archive storage. In most cases, we recommend using standard storage because standard storage provides storage services for general objects and is suitable for storing like various audios, videos, images, and static website resources with high access frequency and hotspot data. Thanks to its support for high throughput computing scenarios, it is also suitable for storing a variety of computing resources. The other 2 modes, the infrequent access storage and archive storage classes, are more suitable for long-term storage and having a data that is very infrequent to access. So when you store the data in the bucket that is in these 2 classes, when you want to retrieve the data, there will be an additional data retrieval fee. However, the storage unit price in these 2 classes, infrequent access storage and archive storage, are much lesser compared to standard storage. So if you have files like log files or the files that you will be very not likely to use for a long time, then it is recommended to archive them in the bucket that is set in these 2 storage classes. And finally, when you have the OSS bucket ready, you can now start configuring the bucket and have it store your static website. With OSS, you can host your static web page on OSS for a low cost, highly available hosting solution that can scale automatically to meet traffic demands. And also, you can reliably serve your traffic and handle unexpected peaks without worrying about scaling your infrastructure. So here are the settings that you have to do when you want to use OSS to host your website. First, you have to set the default web page, which is the index.html in your website. And second, you have to set the 404 error default web page. After you have the settings done, you will have your website ready to go, which is like the picture here. And your website's address will be starting with your bucket name, and then with your bucket's regional internet endpoint, and then your page. Finally, let's talk about an important feature in OSS, which is anti-leech feature. OSS is a pay-as-you-go service, so to reduce extra fees cost in case your data in the OSS is stolen by others, OSS supports anti-leech based on the referrer field in the HTTP header. You can configure a referrer whitelist for a bucket and configure whether to allow the access requests that have an empty referrer field. That's all for this section. Thanks for listening. Hi guys, in this section, we'll talk about ICP license. So first, what is ICP license? So here's the definition. An ICP license is a legal and mandatory requirement from the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology for all websites hosted on a server within China. So ICP license is required both for China web hosting and CDN products. And there are two types of ICP. One is ICP filing and the other is ICP commercial license. Let's first take a look at ICP filing. So what is ICP filing? For websites in China, you have to apply for ICP filing. This is compulsory and for all websites in China. ICP filing is the first level of ICP certification. All applicants must apply for an ICP filing regardless of whether their website is commercial or non-commercial in scope. So even if you're just hosting a personal website, you still need to apply for at least ICP filing, or your website may be blocked. And after obtaining an ICP filing, you will be eligible to host the website on a China-based web hosting service or CDN, but will not be able to, integrate e-commerce feature or online payments. That is to say, if you want your website to do more than just information sharing, but also can do online sales, then you have to apply for the next ICP license, which is the ICP commercial license. So this is the ICP commercial license. This is for websites in China that want to engage in direct online sales. If you want to do so, you must also apply ICP commercial license. This license allows online platforms or third-party sellers of goods and services to deploy their website on a hosting service or CDN within mainland China. And also, if you want to apply for ICP commercial license, first you must have an ICP filing already. After obtaining both ICP filing and ICP commercial license, you will be eligible to have your website doing online direct sales or online payment. So things seem to get a little bit confusing. Some people may be confused about what are the situations that I need to apply for an ICP, what are the situations that I don't need to apply for ICP. So here's a table to tell you which kind of situation you need and which kind of situation you don't. So from up to down, you can see that if you're just opening your office in China but not yet doing anything there, then you don't need to have an ICP. And if you're just connecting your IDC inside China and connect to the overseas IDC, then in that case, you're still not yet need an IDC because you're not yet servicing any customer in China. But starting from the third one, if you have your overseas website using the CDN inside China to accelerate it, then in this case, you are having your website servicing the customer in China. Then in this case, you need to have an ICP. And the case is, you need to have an ICP filing. And number 4, if you launch your website inside China, then yes, of course, you need an ICP filing. And the 5th one, if you launch your online shop, so in this case, it's a shop, launching your online shop in China, then you not only need an ICP filing, but also need the ICP commercial license. And the final 2, if you want to protect your services in China using the security services in mainland China, or you want to accelerate your business in China using the business ecosystems in mainland China, then of course you need to apply for ICP. And finally, if you want to apply for ICP and you don't know where to start, or you need some help and don't know who can help you, then you can always go back to www.alibabacloud.com/ICP. This is the special portal we made to help you understand the ICP license, the regulations, and getting some support here. So that's all for this section. Thank you for listening. Hi guys, so let's now move on to the final part of this Clouded course, which is publish your first static website on OSS. So please go to the Alibaba Cloud Management Console and go to the home page, and then we drag to the storage and CDN section, go to the OSS, and then please start creating a bucket. So you can start creating bucket using the button here to create a new bucket. And here you have to set a bucket name. So for your convenience, we recommend you set a unique but easy to remember bucket name. So for example, in my demo, I just start with a demo OSS SITE, and then we have a number to make it unique. And then we have to choose the region. So the region part, well, for our example, we choose the Singapore region, but of course, if you prefer, you can choose the Hong Kong or other regions as you desired. And then here, we choose the standard storage because we're hosting a static website, so we don't choose the infrequent or archive storage. And then the final one, also the most important one, please make sure your ACL is set to public read. Press OK, and then again a OK to create the bucket. Okay, so you now have a bucket ready. So now let's go straight to the bucket to see some settings here. So in this bucket homepage, you'll see there's nothing yet. You have no storage used, no traffic, and no requests, no files, no file fragments. So let's go to the files here. So of course it's empty because we just created the new bucket. So let's now go to the basic settings here. So here's a setting that is relevant to the static website, which is here, the static page. So you have to set the default home page and the default 404 page for the static website. And now we not yet have any pages, so let's go to the files and let's start to upload some files to this OSS website. So please download the page.zip in the course material page and then unzip it. You'll see those files in here. And then please upload these files to OSS using the management console. So please just press this upload button and then you can start uploading files. We choose the current directory and we inherit the ACL parameters as the bucket. And then you can start uploading the files here using the button here. Press the button and then upload all the files in the zip file. It would take a few minutes. And then very quick, all the files are uploaded. So let's go back to the file management page. You'll see all the files here. And you can click on, like for example, this index.html file. And then the preview page will give you the URL for this page. So let's copy the URL and then let's put it in the address bar to see how this would work. So you'll see the default index page is shown in here. But we not yet have this page be set as the OSS default page. So let's go back to the OSS settings part. So go back to the basic settings here. and then you can start editing the settings here. So you can edit the default homepage. So the default homepage is index.html. So let's just enter index.html. And for the default 404 page, in the zip file, there's a 404.html. So let's set it as 404.html as well. And then we press save to save the settings. Okay, so now we have set the default homepage and the 404 page for this OSS static website. So if you want to see the OSS static website's full address, you can go to the Alibaba Cloud Documentation Center. If you go to the OSS Documentation Center and you go to the developer guide to the regions and endpoint, then you'll see the whole regions and endpoint for OSS. And since we're in Singapore region, so let's switch to the Singapore region. And then you'll see that this one is actually the internet address of the OSS in Singapore region. So let's copy this one. Put it in the address bar. And then in the most starting part, let's put in the OSS bucket name. So our OSS bucket name is demo OSS site 01. So let's put in the demo OSS site 01. And then this is the address of our OSS static website. So let's click it to see. Oh, so okay, our index file is now successfully set as the static website's index page. And then let's see what would happen if we try to go to a wrong page and then trigger the 404. So let's enter something that doesn't exist in the OSS bucket, and then it guides us to the correct 404 file. Okay, so that's all for the static website part. So after you set the default homepage and the default 404 page, then you will successfully have your static website hosted on the OSS. And of course, you can upload more files to the OSS bucket and have more files, more pages being hosted in the OSS static website. That's all for this demo. Thank you for listening.